How does he beat Satan? Like at chess?
No, at Powers.
Powers.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by CinemaSins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from CinemaSins, joined as always by the voice of CinemaSins, Jeremy Scott.
Sheboygan.
Sheboygan.
Oh, all right.
It's a city, but it sounds like gibberish.
I know. I've been to Sheboygan,
Have you
and I
really?
love it. Yes, they have very good sausages.
All right. I'm down with the sausages.
Yeah, we're definitely not doing Wisconsin. Not yet.
It's true.
But also for music video since Barrett Share.
Hello. I think the polka band in Home Alone were from Sheboygan. They were headed up to Sheboygan.
Because it's the funny sounding name, right?
Yeah.
The band has to be from somewhere funny.
Yeah. That's the only reason I even know Sheboygan exists, if I'm honest, is probably bad sitcom jokes where they just wanted a funny sounding city.
Oh, it's a delight. It's a coastal city. It's right on Lake Michigan.
All right.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Today we're going to go back on our road trip.
Road trip. Shotgun.
On the road again.
The most time-honored tradition of all, the road trip.
Oh, the places you'll go.
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
No.
Are we there yet?
No.
Yeah, we're going to be doing Vermont today.
I've been there.
I have too.
All right.
What? Really?
Yeah, one of my uncles was there for a good 5-6 years, and we went out to visit them and went to the Ben & Jerry's place where they make the ice cream.
They have like a factory.
Mm-hmm. It's in
Interesting.
Johnson, Vermont, I think.
Wow. Well, did you go up when you were in New York?
Yeah, I was in New York, and I knew somebody who lived in Vermont, who had moved to Vermont, and so on a vacation, I went over and visited him and his wife, and then I think I had 2 different excursions into, the states above New York. That some are not New England, I guess. I don't know. Some are.
Yeah, who cares?
Most of them are. But the one excursion was up to Vermont, and the other one was to Boston. So, but Vermont, Vermont's a pretty state.
Very Vermonty.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Yeah.
Vermonty.
I imagine it being very idyllic.
Should
I've
be
never
beautiful
been.
this time of year. All that snow.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they go in White Christmas, is Vermont.
I know. We're going to talk about it.
Oh, shit. I just remembered why we're here.
Why are we talking about
Yeah.
Vermont?
And then you have lots of places where you can go and get syrup.
Syrup and skiing.
Yeah,
Syrup and skiing.
You got to have that and the Ben & Jerry's and all that stuff to coat yourself in blubber for the winter.
When I was there, I'm pretty sure it was like 8 inches of snow or some bullshit.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure I remember thinking, thank God we live in Indiana. And when we lived in Indiana, we got snow all the time, but just not like that.
Yeah.
So.
Crazy.
The first movie on this list is Baby Boom, which is
wow.
a movie that I never saw, but I swear I saw the video cover about 4 million times
No
going into
shit,
Blockbuster.
Got Diane Keaton like shooting her hip out with the baby on it.
Exactly, but no, I never saw this. So tell us about it, Barrett.
You've seen it, right?
I have seen it.
Oh,
What did you
Jeremy's seen
think?
it too.
My wife liked it more than I did.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder, has it been a while since you've seen it?
No, we watched it maybe 8 months ago.
Oh, really? I haven't seen it in fucking forever. It's because this is, 87?
Yeah, no, I never saw it at all until then.
Ah.
And it felt pretty dated to me. And so I was not paying that much attention. And my wife ended up really liking it.
Yeah, I mean, I assume that it's very, very dated because it's all like 80s Wall Street. I don't think she's Wall Street. I think she's like advertising or something like that. But it's like go, sell and all that stuff. Harold Ramis plays her husband, I think, at the beginning, or like her love interest. And then she switches over to, so she's in Manhattan, and then she goes up to Vermont to like decompress basically. And she ends up like making her own baby food.
Baby.
Yeah. Well, she inherits a baby.
I don't remember.
And then she makes her baby food, and then she starts selling all that stuff and falls in love with Vermont as you do in The Small Time Life and all that stuff. And Sam Shepard is her future love interest. Anyway, Diane Keaton is adorable in this.
Yeah.
She's a very dynamic character because she's go, self-made woman all the way at the beginning of this. And then she inherits this baby, and she's like, I can't deal with this. But then she kind of comes around naturally. I mean, Diane Keaton's such a fucking
it's like
good
Mr.
actress.
Mom, but with a woman.
Yeah, well, yeah, it really is. I mean, if you put like Katherine Heigl in this fucking thing, you're not going to be believing it. But Diane Keaton, like, she really makes it work, and I think it's a good movie. Like I said, I haven't seen it recently, but I enjoyed it very much.
Yeah, I don't think we need to say any more about that movie. She's great. She's charming.
Movie I'm pretty sure I've seen, but don't remember anything about. But I am going to read Barrett's description of Bless the Child. It's the 2000 Kim Basinger horror movie about an autistic child that beats Satan and shit.
Yeah.
Beats Satan?
Yeah. So the kid's she has the kid. It's her kid, and the kid is looked upon as being odd and peculiar, and then he starts he or she, it's a she, starts developing powers and shit like that, and then they run into sudden Christina Ricci.
Nice.
Excellent.
And then shit happens, and then like good and evil, there's cults, and there's this baby that turns into like a kid, and that beats Satan.
Oh, nice.
How does he beat Satan? Like at chess?
No, at powers.
Powers.
This movie is fucking terrible.
It sounds
This
pretty
movie is
awful.
one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Interesting.
I watched it with my wife one night when there was literally nothing on. We were like, "Oh, horror movie, Kim Basinger, Christina Ricci." You know, I'm
You
on
said
board.
it came out in 2000? Is that right? So is she a better mother in this movie than she is in 8 Mile?
It's a good question.
She is a very good mother. She's trying to support her Satan beating.
Excellent. So she doesn't say
Child.
to her child, my boyfriend won't go down on me?
Yeah, no, she doesn't say that. It's funny because like this again comes on the heels of like End of Days and fucking Stigmata and all that shit.
Yeah.
And it totally got like looped in with that stuff, and it's maybe the worst one of all.
That's crazy because End of Days is awful.
And
Yeah.
Stigmata's probably the best of the bunch, and it's awful.
Like when Kevin Pollak can't even carry you through a shitty demonic action movie, you know it's bad. Like Kevin Pollak can usually get me through anything.
Yeah, Kim Basinger had that weird post-Oscar career after L.A. Confidential where, like, the next movies she did were Bless the Child and I Dreamed of Africa, which was another just slog of a movie.
I forgot about that.
And then 8 Mile, but like it was just weird. She had been in the business for a really long time, had been in a lot of stupid movies. Then LA Confidential gets her the Prestige, and then I'm gonna waste all that on some pretentious bullshit and a horror movie that's terrible. And
She's never come back from it, has she? Has there been a?
not really. I mean, her semi comeback was 50 Shades.
Oh, shit.
I guess. Yeah.
And you know,
Oh shit! I forgot she
Wow,
was
that's
in that.
like a meteoric rise, and then
Yeah.
just a drop.
Bye. Did we ever call it though? Doing that 9.5 weeks Sins video, and then Kim Basinger just happens to show up in the series. Oh my God. Okay, then we have a great one, Dead Poet Society.
Yes.
This one, I believe it was Tom Schulman who wrote it, and he was he went to Nashville's MBA.
Oh, really?
And he based a lot of this on MBA, I believe. But Dead Poet Society is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Me too.
I've seen this one a lot, like a frightening amount of times.
Yeah, me too. Is it one of those movies that you could probably legitimately get 85% of the dialogue?
I could do the Ready Player One, like as in the book.
I think I
with
could,
Dead Poet
too.
Society.
It was one of those VHSs that was in heavy rotation with A Few Good Men and all that stuff that like just kind of got ingrained, and it's such a comfortable place.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Robin Williams had sort of hinted that he could get to this dramatic level with Good Morning Vietnam, even though that was advertised as a big Robin Williams fest.
Yeah.
But Good Morning Vietnam showed dramatic chops. And he had been in a couple of other dramas before this, but this was the one that people really latched onto as his quote unquote first dramatic role. And even though he's funny in this too, he's tremendously funny. He's the teacher that you'd always would love to have. But yeah, the school don't like that. The school don't like that shit, man.
It's amazing to think about a world where that guy gets fired.
Yeah.
Right? Because
Yeah.
he, like, it's not like he sleeps with any of his students.
No.
He's like, he just over inspires them. Oh, you fucker.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
fired.
and over inspires them, and then according to these adults, over inspires them, gets them to that leads to them looking at the yearbook photo of him starting the Dead Poet Society. Then they decide to start it back up because he did it, so we can get some of that Keating magic.
That's right.
Yeah, this movie has it's not very many people out of this became huge other than Robert Sean Leonard and Ethan Hawke, who were the main people. Like everybody else in this is, you've seen
Josh Charles is in this.
Josh Charles.
To a lesser extent, I think he's had success, but
I think so. I think you're right. I think I should have included Josh Charles on there.
Kurtwood Smith.
Yeah, Kurtwood Smith, who had already established. But a lot of the guys that you see in this, the dude who plays Cameron has shown up in a few movies too, and most recently that I remember was Jack Reacher. He plays that store manager or whatever. I just like, it's him.
Yeah, it's that guy.
It's Cameron. But yeah, I think it's an interesting movie because I think it actually might be prescient to our times too, even. Like, I think just the way we start thinking we blame bad things on. I mean, I guess it's always been an issue, right? It's not something that's new to today or anything, but you can see in that movie how we start blaming others for our faults or our mistakes or whatever you want to call them. When people of power really don't want to feel foolish, they blame other people.
Yeah, which is stupid, and obviously it's the silliest thing that means nothing to the overall administration, right? He's within his class. It's not like he's, sitting on board committee meetings or anything like that. He's running his class. I run my unit how I run my unit, right?
Yeah.
He's doing his class, and his class is subversive, and he's opening kids' minds and stuff like that. But just the seed of them thinking for themselves so threatens this administration that he must go. And then, of course, it's given the tipping point with Robert Sean Leonard's character, but it's like, it just something. Let the guy have his fucking class, and that's it's compartmentalized. They don't have to go over and above like this.
Well, and nobody ever said anything about his class until someone until something tragic happens.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's the other, I guess that's the sad thing about this movie is just that, that nobody really had a problem with how he was teaching. They brought up questions, or people, there's the one friend who's like, a free thinker's at 18, John, and all that.
Yeah.
But they don't really say you need to stop this.
Well, what's the issue with that? Because the guy tells on him, right? For doing the Dead Poet Society. Mm-hmm. But is that technically like against the rules or anything like that? He tells on them. I guess maybe they were out there smoking and drinking and stuff like that.
Oh, I think in that era, in that kind of an environment, even sneaking out of the dorm at night is probably like a punishable.
So that was the main thing that the information that he gave them that was actionable, right?
Yeah, I think so.
It also has. Well, of course, it was parodied so well on SNL fairly recently.
Yeah.
But that last scene is still as powerful now. Mm-hmm. I'll still be in tears watching it now as it was in, 1989?
Yeah. Question, do you think all of those students are expelled after that?
No, I don't think so, because their parents give the school a lot of money.
It's basically, honestly, stay with me here. It's like the end of Bug's Life. Where they realized if the little ants, the students, band together in great enough numbers, they can overthrow us grasshopper administrators.
Oh, yeah.
And so I do think that display of raw numbers would keep them from getting expelled.
Possibly so. It's interesting because it's only, I guess, like half of the class stands up, right?
Yeah.
They certainly don't all do it.
You still see people sitting down, including Cameron, who's
chicken shit coward.
Yeah, exactly. I love that final shot too. Like Ethan Hawke is like framed like in between somebody else standing too. That scene is it's so great. Like all that the bagpipes and everything, and Keating getting that last, thank you, boys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
He's got such a great smile. Oh,
yeah.
I'm getting chills just thinking about that.
Good shit.
Dead Poet Society is a fantastic movie. We have talked about it before, but if you haven't seen it, you should go out and see it. By the way, Peter Weir, after he did Dead Poet Society, there was sort of the same parallels drawn when he did the Truman Show, and Jim Carrey, who had been known for comedy and everything.
Yep.
They were saying, well, this is Jim Carrey doing drama after, like, just like Robin Williams did and everything. Maybe they can, and I love the Truman Show as well. Then we have Flash.
Vermont?
Yeah.
The fuck? I don't even remember any of this being Earth. I mean, I know it starts on Earth.
Yeah, I don't remember. I saw this at Belcourt Midnight Show. I don't remember that Vermont being a thing. But
Well, because he's like what is he, like a star athlete or some shit?
He's a football player.
And then he ends up in space.
Yeah.
I loved this movie. I probably watched it 50 times.
Are you serious?
I don't remember anything but that goddamn song.
That's all I remember.
Same here.
I remember the soundtrack and the mention in Ted.
Yeah.
The movie Ted.
Yeah, but I mean, I watched it 50 times when I was like 8 or 10. Like, I was really young, and it's not the kind of thing I kept watching as puberty happened. I don't know why I connected that to puberty. But at any rate, yeah, I haven't seen it in so long. I need to watch it. I need to get, like, baked or something and watch that movie.
Yeah.
I bet that would be awesome.
We should all get baked and watch Flash Gordon and do a podcast.
Oh my God.
Now you've just created a monster.
Holy
now
shit.
everyone is going to demand that.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to do it. But actually, it might drive interest to the Patreon.
It might.
If we made it like a private Patreon, you can only listen to the Weed Pod.
Yeah.
Speaking of weed, I had an idea the other day for a comic book called President Weed Guy. And it's about this weed guy who sells weed for money. And then at college, he goes straight with a career, even to the point where he goes on to become president. But he just never stopped selling weed because he really likes it. And so, like, president by day, and at night he goes out in a costume and he sells weed.
He continues to sell weed.
All the way up to the Oval Office.
It's kind of like Dave, except
It's kind of like
Snoop Dogg.
It's kind of like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter.
yes, exactly. Yeah, President Weed Guy.
Yeah.
You got to start giving your ideas off on the podcast, man. That's
Oh,
proprietary, right
I
there.
only give away the D ideas. A, B, and C ideas I'll stay with.
Boom. That's right. Then we have Funny Farm, which is a movie that I remember liking back in the day. I don't know if I'd like it now if I watched it, but I enjoyed Funny Farm. Chevy Chase is an author, and he has he's got writer's block.
Mm-hmm.
And he and his wife have moved out to this new home and this new neighborhood and everything. And he's having an awful time trying to write this book. Meanwhile, the wife is writing a children's book.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's sort of has a I guess a competition essentially with his wife there. And there's a point that he becomes so desperate that he turns in her work as his own.
Oh, yeah.
And then it becomes a big thing.
Man, that's a line you don't cross.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if that's the third act break though. If that's the third act where he takes the manuscript.
I forgot that part. I know that there's the big section where he because the town folk hate him so much,
right,
that he pays them off. He's like, well, we'll move out. We'll sell the house, and I will pay you individually a certain amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
And then he starts liking it.
Yeah.
And then they get pissed off at him for liking it.
Right. Yeah, he gets the whole neighborhood to start being like really nice, and so they're trying to sell the house now that they're getting divorced over this. And he gets the whole town to be like the perfect idyllic town.
Yeah.
And then, like, at the end of it, he's like, he falls back and they get back together and all that. But I just remember this being a fun movie. Like, it's a small town Doc Hollywood type of movie. I just remember it being good.
It is. Well, I saw it. I saw the first half of it recently. Like one of those things where you're like right before you go to bed, like you were watching it, like, oh, that's really interesting. It was really funny. I mean, this is like peak Chevy Chase, right around peak Chevy Chase. This is 1988. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so right around peak Chevy Chase. I'll watch any of that stuff. Man.
Yeah.
Like he was just so magnetic, and when he was left to his own devices, this is like more Fletch style Chevy Chase than it is Clark Griswold Chevy Chase. So yeah, I thought it was. Nobody else is in this though. It's like Madeline Smith is his wife. and really nobody else that you'll recognize, like name wise.
I do love the reveal to the wife how he turned that manuscript in, because the publisher calls and she answers the phone. He's been writing this book that's terrible, by the way, and he's even given her pages, and she's like, and there's even a crying scene. She's like, "This book's not very good. Sorry." And so he takes it personally and all that, and that's when he ends up sending her manuscript out. And the publisher calls, she answers, and he goes, "Oh, I just read your husband's book. It's the best thing that I've read in a long time." And she's like, "Oh, really? Okay." And everything. And then he goes, "I've read many children's books in my time, and he goes through the plot of the thing that she wrote and everything. It's such a dickhead move, man.
It is, man. God.
I remember liking that movie.
Yeah.
Here's something right up Jeremy's alley. I'm sure he's seen 400 times. Shop Girl.
Oh, yeah. Claire Danes.
Yeah.
Claire Danes, baby.
I've seen this movie a couple of times myself.
It is a weird combination of my love of Steve Martin and my love of Claire Danes, because those are two very different kinds of loves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I like Jason Schwartzman too.
Yeah.
This is based on a book Steve Martin wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Martin is, one of those guys that's talented in everything he does.
Yep.
And it's a great little interesting character study. I think I talked about it before on the podcast, just because of the way it treats Claire Danes' character's mental health, because she's trying to skip her meds. She stops taking her meds and kind of goes into a dark place there for a while. And I appreciate that the movie's willing to show that kind of stuff in what would otherwise just be a quirky rom-com. But yeah, it's good stuff. I haven't seen it 400 times, maybe 5 or 6.
Okay. This movie is a little bit more melodramatic than you might think. It seems like a bigger type of it's a small indie film, but it really has this stuff is really dramatic in certain parts and everything. Steve Martin, Steve Martin plays this guy who he's a very wealthy dude, and he ends up snagging Claire Danes, and Claire Danes thinks that, well, he tells her right off the bat, he's like, "I'm not looking for anything serious," but he starts doing stuff that's it's serious. And so she starts thinking, well, maybe he's crossed over and everything. So she thinks it's a lot more than it is. And then the first time he gets a chance to go out of town, he sleeps with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And meanwhile, Jason Schwartzman genuinely likes her, and they've been on one date or whatever. And probably one of my favorite parts though is when the girl thinks that Jason Schwartzman is Steve Martin's character.
Yeah.
And so she fully sleeps with Jason Schwartzman because she thinks that he's Steve Martin, and then she keeps on why I can't remember how the reveal is, but he keeps on, why do you keep calling me this? Or
it's the next morning, right?
Yeah, it's the next morning. And all that. But yeah, I really like this. This is one of those movies you can kind of get into. It's just the way it's shot and the way the music is and everything. I really like it.
Well, it's one of those quirky, what is the Maggie Gyllenhaal, Will Ferrell movie that we talk about a lot?
Stranger Than Fiction.
Stranger Than Fiction. It doesn't have that paranormal element to it or anything like that, but it's definitely a skewed take on a rom-com.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not Steve Martin being goofy Steve Martin or anything like that, or even really funny Steve Martin. He's pretty straightforward in this movie.
Yep.
But he's charming, and you can see why Claire Danes falls in love with him. It's a complicated story, using all of those 5 players between the 3 of them and the people they sleep with, and how they interact and all that. It's almost Woody Allen-esque, except without the creepiness.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting back to back with this and The Spanish Prisoner, just to see how Steve Martin I don't think cracks one joke between the two movies.
Yeah, I don't think so.
He's almost intentionally going out of his way to not be funny.
Right,
he's like Jerry Seinfeld when he's I think it's curdled. I don't care.
By the way, I don't know if you ever got any play from this line, but Jason Schwartzman has that line. I think it's at the beginning when he dates Claire Danes and has that first date with Claire Danes. He's like, "Well, you've just been on a date with Jeremy."
I have never used.
Never
that
got to
line.
use that.
No, I've done much worse.
Damn. Then we have a movie we've talked about a lot on this podcast, State and Maine.
State and Maine.
It's been a minute since we talked about it, though.
It has. I don't know that there's anything new to say other than how fucking awesome it is, and how one of these movie channels needs to just put it back in rotation so that I don't have to go out of my way to watch it.
That is true.
Because that is the ultimate definition of a movie I can slide into and slide out of as life demands, and enjoy every little bit of what I catch. I just love it. I love it. I love it. I want to marry it.
Yeah. And I don't know. This would be. I think this would be a good double feature with like The Player or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Good movies about making movies.
Oh, sure.
But State and Maine is just it's such a funny movie, so funny, and so many actors in it that you love in it too. Huge recommend if you're late to the podcast. This is State and Maine is a huge recommend. David Mamet wrote and directed.
Yeah, David Mamet had just such a ride there between Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross. I'm looking to see if I can find the stuff that he wrote.
The Edge.
He wrote The Edge, Untouchables, fucking Postman Always Rings Twice,
The Edge.
Speed the Plow.
How is a movie about a couple guys stranded in the woods so repeatedly engaging to me?
Mm-hmm.
And it's got to be David Mamet. I mean, the actors are doing a great job too, but it's compelling because of who these characters are and the things they're saying to each other and the things they don't know about each other. And it's if you wrote down what happens in that movie, it probably would take 2 paragraphs.
Yeah.
But it's compelling as hell.
Guys get chased by a bear.
Yeah, exactly.
Guy turns on other guy. And then that's it.
I think it's this is Lee Tamahori who directed The Edge. Of course, we're just talking about The Edge now, but Lee Tamahori was a guy who was on the rise there. He did a movie called Once Were Warriors, and then he did this, and he did a Bond movie, and I can't remember which Bond he did. It's probably not one of the good ones because I think it was a Pierce Brosnan later era Pierce Brosnan that he did. But Lee Tamahori, he may have been a part of one of those Hollywood scandals. Okay, so the only thing that I see on Wikipedia is that he was dressed as a woman, arrested in Los Angeles for allegedly offering an undercover police officer oral sex, convicted only of criminal trespass. Okay, so I guess all things considered, he didn't do that much.
Yeah, he came out ahead.
Yeah. Boom!
That's it, everybody.
Well, we're done.
That's it for me.
All right, well, that'll do it for this week. This is Chris Atkinson, Jeremy Scott, and Barrett Scher. We'll see you next time. No, he, let's see. Lee Tamahori did Once Were Warriors, Mulholland Falls, The Edge.
Bastard.
He did episode 3 of the second season of Sopranos. Along Came a Spider. And yes, Die Another Day.
Oh,
And Triple X State of the Union.
Another day. Oh,
So
I sinned that one.
but
That
yeah,
State of the Union.
Yeah. Lee Tamahori, though, there was a point there where it looked like he was going to be one of those top directors, but Next, he did Next as well.
I feel sorry for him now.
That poor bastard.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway, watch State and Maine.
Yeah,
Watch
State
State and Maine.
Maine's
Then we have a movie that you do not want to watch called Sucker Punch.
Oh, boy.
You know, there's so many good people associated with this movie. But it sucks on a massive, massive level.
Yep.
It sucks on because there's levels to the movie, and it sucks almost progressively at every
I mean,
level.
I wrote a sin for that movie near the end that pretty much sums up how I feel, where I was like, everything we've seen is a fantasy they use to escape basically the abuse and torture of this place. Why would you make a movie about that?
Yeah.
Why? That's just disturbing. I can't enjoy anything about that fucking movie.
No.
Yeah.
It has its fans. I know they're small in number, but they're passionate.
Yeah, in other words, every time you see them kicking ass in these fantasy sequences, they're actually just getting horribly abused behind the scenes.
Exactly.
There's no redeeming quality to it.
No, it's really, I don't even know how you sold these people to be in this movie. Like, unless you told them about the torture stuff after.
Maybe so.
Like, you guys are going to be kicking ass in one scene. It's going to be like a dragon. Then there's going to be like a colored sword. And there's going to be this other thing. By the way, might be some abuse.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, that's obviously how it was marketed, was on that,
sexy
Sin City,
chicks kicking ass.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
how it was marketed.
Well, and the trailer too had "When the Levee Breaks" from Led Zeppelin on the beginning
Great
of
trailer.
it, and it also had that Silver Sun pickup song "Panic Switch," I believe. And that trailer is badass. I was like, oh, I can't wait till. I remember being at a time of my life that I was like, I cannot wait to see Sucker Punch. That movie is going to be so fantastic.
Wow.
Those times are gone.
Yeah. Super Troopers, both of them, but the first one especially. The second one goes to Canada, but
Those boys start drinking. Those boys start drinking the maple syrup. They get all antsies in their pantsies.
I haven't seen the second one.
No, this is on the first one. It's where Jay Chandrakusar is doing. I butchered that name. Is doing the maple syrup chugging contest, and he finishes like the whole bottle, and he drops, and he's like, "I am all that is man."
this came on about a month or so ago, and there's like a new thing for me that's one of the funniest things of that movie is after they pull the trucker over. And they go into the back of his truck, and he locks the door and runs away. So, like, you see, like, they go in the truck, they're looking for stuff, the door locks. And then Jay Chandrasekhar or whatever comes in, and he goes, and it's it's two guys stuck in this truck, and he comes in and he opens the door, and he goes, "Smells like sex in here."
There's so many amazing moments. Now, this movie is not perfect, especially the back half of it really falls apart.
Yeah.
It's not nearly as funny. It's actually trying to get into plot and all that stuff. It's Kruger versus Brian Cox, right? But the first time, I mean, like, all the stops are classic. The meow thing.
Yep.
The time that he pulls the European people over and the girl starts having sex with him. And he's like, "Is this cool?" And he's like, "I had right." And the fucking husband is in there like, "Oh yes, this is so great." Fucking ridiculous.
Oh, I know.
I feel like we always need a couple of outside the system comedy troupes like this.
Yes.
Making comedies like this where maybe not every joke works, but the studio would have squeezed you into a mold. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And some of the most quotable stuff and the most memorable stuff is that weird shit a studio would never allow into a movie. So I think I like these guys more than I like most of their movies, but this is my favorite of all of their movies for sure. Super Troopers.
Yeah.
Broken Lizard has a few that I mean, Club Dread was a movie I didn't like when I first watched it, but I've since grown to appreciate it. The Slammin' Salmon, which I don't think ever got like a big theatrical release, that's a funny movie, I think, too. The only thing that I remember them being a part of that I really didn't like was Dukes of Hazzard, but even that has its fans for some reason. I don't know why.
Jessica Simpson fans.
Yeah, I guess so. But Super Troopers 1's good. The second one, you just can't recreate this magic, I don't think.
No, and they're so obviously trying to do the exact same thing. I mean, it's like, okay, the reason that I didn't like 22 Jump Street, but I understand why people did, because they were self-aware and acknowledging we're doing the exact same thing, you know. But it was so on the heels of it to where all the characters were in on the joke. The first one was so funny and subversive. You still had Lord and Miller, I think, on the second one, too. That it worked. But this is, what, 14 years later, something like that? When did it come out?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's right.
But it was
they kickstarted the budget.
Yeah, and they're doing the exact same thing. They're doing the traffic stop bits again, and they're doing a femme fatale thing again. You know, they're doing us versus them again, and it's like there were parts of that movie that were funny.
Yep.
But then most of it was just rote and stupid.
Most of it, you're just like, yeah, okay, yeah.
Did you ever see the second one? Man, I mean, yeah.
What Lies Beneath? This was the other movie that came out in 2000 with Robert Zemeckis after Castaway. He did this movie in between waiting for Tom Hanks to lose the weight or gain the weight. Can't remember what they did first. But there was a break in Castaway where he had to either wait for him to lose weight or gain weight, and I can't remember which one it was. And he did What Lies Beneath in the meantime. This movie made a ton of money, but I don't think anybody remembers anything about it.
Do you like it?
No, well, okay, I saw it once. I remember not liking it, and I remember this one being a fairly infamous trailer.
Yep.
Giving away almost everything.
Yep.
He's a Mecca's trademark.
Yes, and a trend that has only grown worse in the years since. But I don't remember. And is Michelle Pfeiffer in it?
Yep.
Is she like a water ghost?
Yes, I think she is.
No, she's the wife.
She's the wife.
That's the conduit for the water ghost.
Oh,
I think.
the conduit.
Oh.
But there's a point in the trailer where Harrison Ford, they like, who is this woman? And he's like, I had an affair with her and all that. And you're like, holy shit, that's a big spoiler.
It wasn't revealed until like way later in the movie.
You know, I had an affair with her, and then that's why she's all angry now. You know, but
Apparently, the most recent X-Men trailer for Dark Phoenix like reveals a character death. Like the
really?
trailer does.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, that movie is the exact same as The Last Stand.
Well,
you can't tell me any different.
Yeah, I mean,
it says something, by the way, when that last trailer, was it last week when it came, that new one came out?
So Dark
somewhere.
Phoenix?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think it was last week.
That The Last Stand was trending on Twitter.
Was it really?
Yeah. So you know that's because people were saying this looks a lot like The Last Stand.
Oh, that's a movie
You know
we want to
what's
copy.
trending today? Both The Dark Knight and The Winter Soldier. Why? Because I forget who. Somebody famous asked a question: is there a Marvel 3-movie run or trilogy that stacks up against the Dark Knight series from Nolan? And it's become this thing. And from what I can tell, it looks like a lot of people think Winter Soldier is as good as Dark Knight and it's the best MCU movie.
I guarantee you that's the case.
That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't understand either.
As long as it's not Civil War.
Yeah.
But anyway, I like What Lies Beneath.
Okay.
It's been a while since I saw it, but I remember it being very it takes twists and turns that you don't quite know, even knowing about the affair and all that stuff. You don't quite know what's happening, what's real and what's not. The performances, I think, are really good. Harrison Ford, this is back when he's trying, you know. There's a weird period where, like, he was trying in the, what was this? This was 2000, 2001? In the late 90s, early 2000s, where he made a little push, and then he just decided, I'm going to phone everything in. And then, like, now that he's reprising all of his characters again, like, it looks like he's trying a little bit harder again. But, yeah, I think he's good in this. Michelle Pfeiffer's good in this, and it's a nice, like, little dead calmish, it's a weird comparison, but like adult thriller.
Yeah. I don't remember enough about it other than just that that whole big reveal thing that they already said in the trailer. And
It had $155 million domestically.
Yep.
Total
Huge.
of 291.
Huge movie.
What fucking lies beneath?
What's crazy is that they didn't come right around and make another one right away.
I know, right?
Today they would.
Yes, they would.
I'm going to let Jeremy go with this one, White Christmas.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Ooh. I have seen this movie probably 100 times.
Yeah.
I break into songs and dialogue from this movie on an almost daily basis.
Wow.
In many ways, I was brainwashed with this movie because it was very important to my mom and her sister when they were younger, and so she watched it every year. And then as my brother and I grew up, we watched it every year, and it's become this tradition now. My brother's kids can quote the dang thing before they even say it. Every Christmas we get together and watch it. I love it. I love it disproportionately. I don't think it's measurably better or worse than any other musical from that era. I just love it more than most because I've seen it more than most, so I live in that.
Well, I mean, it obviously holds some sort of intrinsic value besides nostalgia if you keep coming back to it and still enjoy it as much as you do.
There are. I mean, I do think it is good. It's a fairly preposterous story. If we ever sinned this thing, boy howdy.
God damn, sinning White Christmas.
Go to town. I would go ham on this movie. But all the performances are good. Danny Kaye, I think, is so fucking ebullient and just fucking bubbling over with charm. And the girls are fine. I don't think they're asked to do a whole lot more than sing. But the relationship between Bing and Danny Kaye works. They play off of each other. And, like, They're the original Odd Couple. And the music's really singable. It helps that White Christmas is one of the most famous songs of all time, and I think a lot of people give the movie love because they love the song.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's just a happy place.
Is that we may have talked about this before, but is White Christmas in White Christmas, or is
Yes.
it okay? But he made it before that, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
It was in
For
Holiday Inn.
Oh, okay.
And a couple other pieces of music from Holiday Inn are reinterpreted in White Christmas.
Oh,
okay.
are they?
Yeah, the Abraham number they dance to in White Christmas is the dun 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 dun.
Oh, wow, okay.
And in Holiday Inn, it's a slow ballad. It's boom boop 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 boop.
Oh, wow.
Abraham.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't like Holiday Inn nearly as much as White Christmas.
They're not related, are they? No, they're not, because Holiday Inn is about being like opening up like an actual inn for the holidays, right?
Yeah, they do special shows and
Right.
themes for each holiday, including fucking President's Day.
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
why we do the Abraham song. And no, they're not connected other than Irving Berlin,
Right.
And Bing Crosby. But no, they're not like the same shared universe.
Because Bing does White Christmas in Holiday Inn,
Mhm.
and he does he do White Christmas and White Christmas?
Yeah, twice. Okay. Twice, maybe even 3 times.
I mean, that's got to be like top 10 of all Christmas carols, right?
It is. I love it. His voice is butter.
Butter.
And again, let's not in this era where we're trying to be understanding. There are plenty of stories about him maybe not being a good guy,
Mm-hmm.
and so I don't want to necessarily suggest that I am not aware of that. But yeah, I love the movie.
He hated him some David Bowie. He fucking hated David Bowie. He was like, "Who the fuck is this that they brought?" You know this thing.
I've heard of this.
Can you imagine though? I mean, being in his shoes.
He wasn't in like Ziggy Stardust outfit or anything like that. He was
No,
dressed prim and
but
proper. He was
it
singing
would be
nicely.
like who? It would be like Adele, and then you bring in
Lil Pump.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's almost insulting. I understand why people might want to see this, but from that artist's perspective, it's a little bit like the fuck.
Well, okay, yes, I agree, but he had to have rehearsed with him before,
I don't
and
know.
he had that lovely peace on earth. It's
It's a great song.
and he's got I don't know, Bang.
A lot of people have
That
hated each other
irascible
and still
being.
made good art. So
It's true. David Bowie and Freddie Mercury hated each other apparently.
Last movie of this section. Just imagine you get Mike Nichols and you get Jack Nicholson and you get Michelle Pfeiffer and you make a wolf movie. That sounds awesome, right? Just like Sucker Punch, disappointing.
Oh, disappointing doesn't even.
It's
describe
so bad.
like,
It's offensive.
Yeah.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Is Michelle Pfeiffer? Does she have like a Vermont thing?
Maybe so.
Because that's like two
Yeah,
Michelle Pfeiffer.
yeah, it's two movies.
Mhm.
There's no
She
movie
was
that's
born
no
in
Michelle
Santa
Pfeiffer.
Ana, California, according to her parents were both originally from North Dakota.
Well, all right.
Anyway, Wolf is a bad movie. Yeah, Jack. Probably the selling point of the trailer was him peeing in the urinal and then peeing on the guy next to him. And said, I'm marking my territory. and
I know.
yeah, there's going to be a good time had by all. But boy, is that a shitty movie.
You know what? Maybe you can't make a good Wolfman movie anymore.
You might not.
After Boris Karloff, I mean, you got this. You got the Benicio del Toro one. That was. Did that actually come out? Or-
Yeah.
And then they were planning
that was the
on-
Wolfman. That was a terrible movie too.
It was Javier Bardem that was going to be the one in the Dark Universe, right?
I guess I don't know. I don't remember.
Do you remember that? Who was planning to be the?
Bardem was gonna be either him or the Mummy. I don't remember who, but they're kind of
No, the Mummy was Sofia Boutella, right?
not the Mummy. Yeah, I think it was Bardem.
'Cause Johnny Depp was going to be Invisible Man. Tom Cruise was going to be the Mummy Chaser, and then
Well, now they're rebooting. They're gonna still try and do this now.
Blumhouse
Yeah, I think Blumhouse. Some of the
or Jason Blum is going to get involved with it.
yeah, they're gonna do the Invisible Man, and I think I read yesterday they're talking to Elizabeth Olsen.
Oh, I like her. I like her a lot.
Was it Elizabeth Olsen? Elizabeth Moss.
Mm.
I like her too.
Honestly, really, those two, I could say either name for either one of them. Even though I know who they are and I know their respective careers and could tell you the movies and shit they're in, I can't split their names.
It's like a Samantha Morton and Samantha Mathis for me. But no, people would say American Werewolf in London and maybe even American Werewolf in Paris are good movies. I don't.
Oh, Paris, no.
Paris is not a good movie.
No.
But it did have that Bush song on the soundtrack.
Oh, yeah,
Mouth.
yeah.
But
Tom Everett Scott, baby.
I mean, is that a really good movie or is that just like a fun movie?
What?
American Werewolf in London.
Oh, I think it's good. I mean, I'm not as high on it as a lot of people who hold that, that bring that movie up. But
I mean, it's like basically,
but
Teen Wolf is fun and good.
I think it skates by more because of the Rick Baker effects and all that, and I think that's the movie that sort of inspired the Michael Jackson Thriller effects too. I think they got Rick Baker on that.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're saying is the best modern werewolf movie is Prisoner of Azkaban?
Yes, that's what we're saying.
Actually, yeah.
If you've been listening to the last 10 minutes, that's all we've been talking about is Prisoner of Azkaban.
I'm just by process of eliminations.
Yeah.
But you can't. It's apparent that it's difficult to make a good Wolfman adaptation that holds up.
It is. It's kind of
Maybe
hard.
we should stop trying.
Yes, I'd be all right with
Or stop trying the way they are trying. On the remaining list, Bereft. I've never seen this. Anybody know anything about Bereft? Tim Daly?
B-E-R-E-F-T?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, Tim Daly directed it, and it's got Tim Blake Nelson, and yeah, that's about it.
Okay.
All right.
Hope Springs, Colin Firth, Heather Graham mini driver movie. I remember it coming out.
This seems like it's.
I feel
kinda
like
up your
I
alley.
sat next to this movie once on a bus.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this.
Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. That's the Gary Cooper original. I have seen this. I have not seen the Adam Sandler remake, but I have seen this one.
You're probably in the right order then.
Yeah.
I would think so. I like Mr. Deeds, but you have
mean-
seen the better movie.
I
obviously.
mean, the Gary Cooper one isn't like, I don't consider it like up there or
Really?
anything. Yeah, I mean it's all right. There's a whole section at the end. It's like a courtroom. I can't remember why he has to do this, but he has to prove that one of his little tics is something that everybody has. I just do this thing when I have to think, and I play guitar, and this guy over here, he might pick his nose or something like that. I don't even remember why he was doing that. I just watched it one time a long time ago. I don't remember anything else about it. September, Woody Allen movie. I haven't seen this either.
Yeah, crazy. Mia Farrow.
This is one of his earlier ones then, right?
This is like
This is
87.
87. It's a drama. It was made as a play, apparently. Long takes and all. Like, basically, he wanted to do a play on film. It's Mia Farrow, Sam Waterston, Diane Weiss, usual cast of characters, Jack Warden, and Denholm Elliott. Because I'm a Woody Allen completist, I'll probably see it at some point, but I don't think it got, like, terrific reviews.
Mm-hmm. Spellbound. I have seen this. Alfred Hitchcock. This is it's Gregory Peck and Ingrid Bergman, and the thing about Spellbound is they use Salvador Dali to do the set designs on certain things. So there's a lot of like going into dream sequences and stuff like that, and it's very interesting to look at. It's sort of a psychological, I guess, thriller type of thing, but I don't remember, other than the Salvador Dali stuff, I don't remember too much about this movie. It is one of his, like, I don't know where you would put this, but it is one of his better known movies. I don't know if it's one of his best movies by any stretch, but, yeah, that's worth watching. I mean, that's obviously well worth watching.
Sure.
Spellbound, but the Salvador Dali stuff is all I remember. Sweetheart's Dance, Don Johnson.
Yeah, this is it. This is like all the late 80s guys. There's Don Johnson, Donnie J. Susan Sarandon, Jeff Daniels, Elizabeth Perkins. And a cameo by Bernie Sanders.
Really?
Yes.
Are you joking?
I'm not kidding.
Is that where his
Yeah,
he
he's a
from
Vermont senator.
Okay, that makes a little more sense then.
Then we have 10,000 Saints, Ethan Hawke, Haley Steinfeld. I have never seen this either.
Please tell me you've seen this.
Wait, is this I have seen this.
Asa Butterfield. Did we decide Asa?
It's Asa.
Haley Steinfeld, Ethan Hawke, Emile Hirsch, Julianne Nicholson, Emily Mortimer.
Yeah, I've seen it.
It looks
It's
like
about street kids. She's pregnant. Street kids are family. Yay. You watch Go watch that one of the Will Smith's first movies,
6 Degrees of Separation.
Where the Day Takes You.
Oh.
That's about street kids being family, and it's way better than this one.
Oh, okay.
And it's got that girl in it who had a talk show, Ricky Lake.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go.
She was in a bunch of movies at a time.
She was an actress first, yeah. I saw it. It's pretty forgettable, and I like those people. By the way, while we're on the subject of name pronunciation, I saw 5 days ago, Alan Tudyk did an AMA on Reddit, phonetically spelled his name in the headline, and he had a Y after the T. So I believe he pronounces his name Tudyk, like with a little Y.
Oh,
Tudyk. Because he spelled it T-Y.
So T-Y, like
T-I-C-K.
Oh, yeah.
Tudyk.
All
right.
And so
Good
in
to
future
know.
pronunciations on Sins videos, I'm going to pronounce it the way he pronounced
You're
it.
about to have one.
We'll try anyway. I know that Steve Buscemi is that, but I'm going to always probably say Buscemi when I'm kind of just like idly conversing.
I'm sure he's so used to people saying 5 different pronunciations of his last name commonly.
I've literally watched a video where he says just that. He's like, I don't bother to correct people. It's not like they're insulting me or anything like that.
Yeah, they don't know.
It's hard to pronounce and, Americanese.
Yeah.
And the last one on the list is The Trouble with Harry. It's another Hitchcock. I have not seen this one.
Man, I wrote this in the email. I got to sit down and just have a fucking marathon, like I've done with Kubrick movies, like I've done with a few different directors. But like, he's got a lot of movies.
Yep.
And it's very. This is actually a comedy,
and
isn't
they
it? I think
encompass a wide era and genres too.
Yeah. One of these days. One of these days, that tells you.
Yeah.
One of these nights.
I fucking hate that song.
Hey, well, it's time to talk about Mubi again.
Yeah, baby. Mubi.
What Mubi right now is going through what is an auteur thing. So they're giving these select films of from directors who have basically all the power. They're the authors of the film. They're the where the buck stops. So that's what they're doing right now. One guy I think you could call an auteur in his career was Milos Forman.
Oh yeah.
And there's a movie playing on there now called Goya's Ghosts. And Jeremy, I think you've seen this movie, right?
It was a long time ago, but
yeah, it's about the Spanish Inquisition. It's about it's about an artist. Stellan Skarsgård plays. Is it Francisco Goya? It's Francisco Goya. So yeah, he's playing this painter Francisco Goya, who's been making these drawings that are critical of the Catholic Church, and so there's an early scene where we see all the. I guess it's the Spanish popes or whatever. What do you want to call them?
Like the cardinals?
I guess the cardinals,
the
Spanish cardinals, who are like, this stuff is going out into public and making us look bad and everything. I don't know if this is the inciting incident of the Spanish Inquisition or not. I don't know enough about it. The most I know is Monty Python.
Yeah, nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition.
But they're concerned about this painter and everything, and they start getting concerned about a lot of things around town, including Natalie Portman, who plays a subject of one of Goya's paintings. Goes out and has fun at a restaurant, like eating and partying and all that. And then the Spanish Inquisition is very interested. Did you eat pork? Did you eat pork at the thing? And she didn't eat pork. It's like, well, that goes a long way to us believing you're Jewish and you practice Jewish religion and everything. So the next scene is her getting strung up and being asked the question. Basically, they call it the question. And basically the point of the movie is, doesn't anybody say what you want to hear from this kind of torture? And there's a great scene in the middle. It's probably the best scene of the movie, where Natalie Portman's dad, through the connections of Goya and everything. Goya has been painting Javier Bardem, who's the guy who's been like spearheading a lot of this movement, although he wasn't there for the Natalie Portman. He arranges a meeting Javier Bardem, and the father goes, I could have you admit anything. He's like, no, anybody who believes in God will not admit. They'll have the power to not admit the things to admit something that's not true, and blah blah blah. And so he proves his point. This father proves his point and strings Javier Bardem up and makes him go through the question basically, and tells him to sign a thing that says I'm the son of a chimpanzee and blah blah blah, and he signs that.
Oh, wow.
And
this sounds like an uncomfortable movie to watch.
it is uncomfortable. That part in particular is, and just realizing that they, like, how many people probably went through stuff like this.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting thing. Natalie Portman, this is in 2006. I wasn't quite considering Natalie Portman a great actress back in this period of time. I thought she was good. I liked her, whatever. I've in the past 10 years, we've seen her just become a great actress, Black Swan and, Annihilation and, Jackie. These are some great performances. This one is a good hint of what she was going to become later. Because, she plays that normal, naive Natalie Portman or whatever in the first part of this. But once she gets thrown in jail for this stuff and everything, and then the French Revolution comes in, Napoleon rescues everybody and everything. Her transformation from prison after it's been 20 years, I think, something like, or maybe 16, 17 years or something like that, is kind of frightening, and she plays her own daughter in this too.
Oh,
Natalie
really?
Portman does. And it's funny, they did something with her, I think it's like her teeth or something, where it makes it look like she's a different person. Like it's just the way that she carries all that and everything. And the movie's not really about, I mean, she's one of the main characters, but it's also about Javier Bardem, and it's also about Stellan Skarsgård. And I'm saying these actors' names like these are the people who actually lived it, but I ended up enjoying it. I mean, enjoying it. Like it's not one of those movies you watch to feel good.
Right.
But I actually thought it was good.
Yeah. This is Milos Forman's last movie.
I did not know that.
Wow. Yeah, the guy's career has been insane. I mean, obviously One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, then Hair, Amadeus, Valmont, People versus Larry Flint. Did very few movies, but they were all powerhouses. Man on the Moon, and then Goya's Ghosts. Wow. So he's very selective. He's one of my all-time favorites, I think.
And this has it's funny. This does have a feel of like an Amadeus. Like it's not as funny as Amadeus, like surprisingly funny as Amadeus, but it goes about its period drama kind of like an 80s, like an Amadeus would, there's some feel to it that very few can. You see the same thing in Valmont, by the way. It's the same kind of feel. Yeah. Even though Valmont was 89, but he's got a certain flair for those period dramas.
I tell you what, man, Mubi is rocking shit right now.
They are. I mean, where else are you going to like log on and get like Goya's Ghost?
Yeah.
Right? A movie experience. Like, I want to watch that movie now just from the way he described it. And I think that's a very good picture of the kind of service movie is. They provide you with a look at films made by filmmakers you are familiar with or know their work, but maybe haven't seen these more obscure cuts. It's basically better than sex.
Yeah, it tickles our funny bone. Okay, I'm going to run down a couple more just so you guys are aware of the breadth of what they're doing right now. Diary of a Country Priest, French 1950s, very influential movie. If you saw First Reformed last year, this is very influential to the plot, the character, the style of Paul Schrader's movie last year. A couple of other ones that are really interesting. Black Magic, which was what they say ghost directed by Orson Welles and starring Orson Welles from 1949 is on there right now. Orson Welles, man, intense.
Yeah.
Intense in this movie.
I think he was generally intense everywhere.
But when he wasn't drunk.
Yeah, well, you look at the thumbnail on Black Magic. That's basically shows you what he.
Soul.
Yeah, I just want to point out, and I'm sure that many Mubi users have pointed out, there are 2 movies called Barbara from different countries and different years on the service right now.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah. 2. You can compare the Barbaras.
Exactly. I'm telling you. This is okay. So through us, Because we love them so much, and because they love us and they love you. We all love you. Everybody loves each other.
Just big love fest.
A lot of love. 30 days free. You go to Mubi.com/CinemaSins, MUBI.com/CinemaSins. 30 days free, like a full ass month free.
Potentially, if you have the time, 60 movies to watch during that period.
You should make the time.
It's saying something, by the way, that I looked at my viewing history on Mubi, and I've only seen 52 movies.
That's amazing.
Only. That's in the last year that we've been doing these or whatever. I'm like, gosh, that feels like I should have seen so much more. Like I'm just being ridiculous, right? No, that's a lot of freaking movies.
It is.
That's 52 movies I would have never seen.
I know. Awesome. No, that's the best part, is that it'll expose you to cinema that you wouldn't normally be exposed to, some of which you may have seen before, but it's beautiful. We love it. Just go to Mubi.com/CinemaSins, 30 days free. I guarantee you'll love it. We all guarantee it. We love it. So do it today.
Are we ready to do some recommends and warns?
Fuck yeah! I got a fun one.
Totes Amazeballs.
It won the Academy Award
Oh, for what?
for best movie ever made.
I'm going to go ahead with a warn.
All right.
When you sent out the agenda for this thing, I didn't have anything, and I felt left out. So this very morning, just before we got on this air, I watched a movie on Netflix. I basically just went to Netflix. I was like, I want to have something that I can recommend or warn. I need something.
God damn it.
That's right. So I'm going to watch Haunting on Fraternity Row.
Oh.
What? Is this a new movie?
It was on their just recently released bar of films, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna watch this, and whether it's good or bad, I'm gonna talk about it. It's horrible.
Surprise!
Oh my god! Yeah, let's start with that title for a second. Haunting on Fraternity Row. It's really just one fraternity house. It's not a row. Like, it's almost like they wanted to put every cliched college thing. I'm surprised there's not Animal House somewhere in this title. Like, you know, the haunting of Animal House on Fraternity Row. But like, it starts off like a found footage. So we see somebody going around with a camera, and it's the day of this big party that they're sending. It's a party that they have every year. It's a luau. This movie is a total warn, by the way. I want to dissect a movie like this and explain why everything about it is wrong. Like there's so many things, there's elements that you could have that could be a great movie in here somewhere. Don't get me wrong. There's no good movie anywhere in here. I just want to point out that there's just something that you're sitting there going, it's a curiosity. The way it's paced, the way they've written it, the whole ghost story that they've put in here, just none of that clicks. None of it clicks. I don't know what inspired you to make this movie. So they're on the day of this luau thing, and there's a couple of stories. There's the guy who likes this girl, and the girl likes this guy, but they haven't ever gotten together over 4 years. Somehow, it's that. And then there's all these frat guys are like, yeah, we're going to party, and they go down to the basement and they find this like old tunnel or some sort. And they're like, oh, well, that's where they used to store coal. It's an old house or whatever. But they go in the tunnel, and there's like a bunch of lamps in there. Why is there a bunch of lamps? Who knows? And eventually, we start seeing a demon, and the demon comes in and it sucks their eyes out, essentially. So there's nothing but red circles with blood coming down every time the demon attacks.
So Event Horizon.
It's Event Horizon.
Ah, nice.
Yeah. And so just like any demon horror story, you just don't. I mean, you don't understand why the demon does the things that he does. I mean, at least he starts killing a little bit quicker than most of the demons you see in these movies. But there's still all the let's make the power go out and let's, do all this stuff that who gives a shit type stuff. And it just like at the very end, the end is the biggest curiosity it's one of the, I was left with so many questions and it's not a movie I really cared much about whatsoever. But like at the very end, like a whole bunch of people are dying. And then there's this person who seems to know what's going on. And they're explaining all this stuff. And they're like, this is a half-assed explanation 5 minutes before the movie is over.
Wow.
And so I could easily spoil this because nobody's going to watch this piece of shit. But I would love to actually study a movie like this and just point out where it just so many things go wrong with a movie like this.
Do you think it could be fixed?
Yeah. I mean, you'd have to fix everything. I'm just saying in
the construction world, they call that a complete teardown.
Yeah. I will say there's one performer in there that I liked, and it's that was one thing that I kept thinking during this whole thing. Why can't the funny chick that's in this movie be the main character? Everybody else is fucking paper, man.
Oh, really?
Just wallpaper. I don't give a fuck about dude and the girl who haven't gotten together in 4 years and miraculously find the way to get together in this movie. I don't give two shits about that. But let me look at the performer on this so that I can give her some credit. Maybe she doesn't want credit. Maybe she doesn't. She doesn't want anybody to know.
It's like Bill Hader is not credited for Ralph Breaks the Internet, even though he's got a substantial role.
Isn't there wasn't there a rumor that like Stallone bought up some porno he made before he got famous?
Oh, like the
Yes.
Italian Stallion? I think that's what it was called, right?
It's
really?
referenced in Big Mouth like a lot in that first season.
So maybe there's some truth to that rumor?
I always thought it was true, but
Interesting.
I haven't verified it.
There's like a scale for these things. There's like Stallone might have made a porno, and on the other end, there's the Richard Gere gerbil thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Where
yeah.
you're just like, no one ever really believed that.
Yeah.
Did they?
No, I think people did.
Okay.
This is pre-internet.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But the actress's name is Molly Tarlov, and she's like got the best character, and you're like, if it could have been that, like that's where you start right there, right? A lot of the reason why we like Happy Death Day is because
yeah,
that the main actress is so good.
Mm-hmm.
And this one, she's the funny friend. She's the one that's encouraging people to get laid and drink. And so why don't I want to see this girl, And there's one moment, and I guess okay, I'll take it back. There's one moment in this movie that's fun, and it's because of her.
Wow.
But yeah, I would love to just go and dissect a movie like this and just be like, okay, don't do any of this. Let's try to make this movie better. Let's all try to make this movie better somehow. and I would enjoy doing that.
Yeah, nice.
But yeah, there you go. That's my warn.
Did you ever watch Polar?
I did.
Okay. Now I can almost tell from your reaction how you lean on this. It's interesting because on the show notes when I was proofing that last edit, I thought I was going to be like, oh yeah, this is a pretty well-liked movie, kind of like John Wick. 24% overall for Rotten Tomatoes. And I am diametrically opposed to a lot of, especially critics. Now, the audience score was around 73 or so, and that's about where I would put it.
Now, I'm
around.
in between. I don't like the hyper nonsense at the beginning where they're showing people's names and all that. I don't like any of that. The section with the assassins trying to kill him is all the best part.
The sex scene?
The sex scene,
So
and then them, trying to get him, and then going into the cabin, and then him coming out naked, and all that. That's the best part of Polar. And I really like Vanessa Hudgens in that too.
I thought she was really good.
Really good in that.
But no, in the comments too, I've noticed probably, a 70-30 split of people agreeing that they really enjoyed it, but then 30% saying like, what the fuck are you talking about? So I didn't realize that it was going to be kind of divisive, I guess. I should have thought that, but I had so much fun. Maybe it was just my mood.
I don't think you should ever apologize for enjoying a movie, man.
Oh, sure, yeah. No, I thought it was cool.
I'm gonna do. I have a rec of warn.
Mm-hmm.
It's mostly a warn, but I'm gonna give you a twofer on the recommend.
All right.
I'm gonna sneak one in there quick. The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. It's on Netflix. This is, to my knowledge, the directorial debut of Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Oh, really?
He's in
Wow.
it. This is based on a true story about a kid in Africa who built a windmill to power his family's farm. The kid, he's in it. Chiwetel is. He plays the dad. But the kid he got to play the lead role is fantastic. The story is, I'd say this is probably a B+ movie. Family friendly, feel good. You know where it's going the whole time. There's no punches pulled, but it was really solid. I enjoyed it. I watched it with my wife.
Interesting.
And I would give that a recommend. My real recommend is a movie I tweeted about a couple weeks ago called The Rider. This is a 2018 movie.
Rider?
Yes.
Okay.
Actually went to Cannes in 2017 and won the Art Cinema Prize or something, and then was distributed in the U.S. last year, 2018. And I saw towards awards season there was some awards group that out of the blue gave this Best Picture. I can't remember which one it was, but I had been tracking Roma, of course, because I loved Roma. And I was like, The Rider. I saw a picture of a guy in a cowboy hat, and I was like, fuck off, movie. Roma's better than you. And I forgot about it. And then a week or so ago, it comes on. It's on either Showtime or Stars. And I'm like, well, okay, I'll watch this, because if it won this award, it's probably pretty good. Roma ended up getting screwed by the Oscars anyway. Let's see what this is. And so for the first few minutes, I'm trying to figure out where I know this lead actor from, because he looks super familiar. This is about a rodeo guy who has a tragic accident in the rodeo ring. His horse steps on him. That's all before the movie starts. And he's got a metal plate in his head. And he can't rodeo anymore. And his dad's a prick, and his sister's special needs. And so he takes a job at a grocery store because he can't rodeo anymore. But eventually,
rodeo no more.
Eventually, he gets so frustrated, he starts training horses as a way to try and connect to his previous life. He's really good with horses. You see him break a couple different scenes of seeing him break a horse that, I don't know if I should say it this way, but are breathtaking to watch. And then he finds this horse named Apollo that nobody's been able to break. He's got all these bad habits, and he's just being wasted, but he's beautiful. And so he buys this horse, and he decides he's going to train this horse. And he breaks the horse. And there's this scene where he goes out riding. The cinematography in this movie is basically like The Wrestler if it was shot like Brokeback Mountain.
Oh, you sold me on that, man.
And so he starts riding this horse, Apollo, out, and he collapses. He falls off the horse, and he's bleeding. And he goes into the hospital, and like, you can't ride anymore. Your brain injury is such that if you ride, even not just rodeo, but even just riding a horse, this is going to keep getting worse. He has this thing with his brain disease where his hand will clench shut without him realizing it until he needs to unclench it. And at the end, all I will tell you is he at some point in the last third, he decides he's going to rodeo again. Fuck it. This is why I'm tracking it with The Wrestler. It's sort of somebody being told you can't do the one thing that defined you anymore, the one thing you were good at. And I kept expecting this to go similar directions to The Wrestler, and it doesn't. He ultimately has to face a choice in the last few minutes of the movie. Do I really want to do this, or do I want to let go? And so after the movie's over, I'm super moved by it. I tweeted out about it. I do think it should have been a Best Picture contender. It's fantastic. I go Googling looking for this guy, not an actor, the real guy that this is based on. This all happened to him. The girl in the movie, his dad in the movie, his real sister and father.
Wow.
Nobody is acting. These are the real people. And usually when you do that in like 15, 17 to Paris or whatever, like you can fucking tell you used real people, and it's distracting. Couldn't tell here. And it's quiet. And there are so many shots, like cinematography wise, that blew my mind and took my breath away. And it's a double-fisted thumb up from me. I can't recommend it anymore. I still think Roma is my favorite movie of the year, but this one affected me. And
really,
that's why I was so happy with Roma, was that it moved me so much. And this one, again, how do I want to be defined? What if somebody were to take away from me the thing that defines me? What if tomorrow someone were to kill YouTube or, murder my book series? Like, how do I adapt to that? And that's not even anywhere as close to how important writing was to this guy. Anyway, I don't know if I can said enough or too much, but
It's
I really liked that movie.
Chinese writer and director too.
Yeah,
Chloe Zhao.
Chloe Zhao, yeah.
I don't know if that's Chinese names. I'm still learning how to pronounce it. It could be Shu for all I know.
Yeah, it could be.
ZHAO. You know, but that's an interesting thing too. You don't expect somebody from China to be doing this like Western.
Well, and she's interesting. She came over from China to be schooled in. She wanted to go to American film school. She wanted to learn to be an American style filmmaker. And she's made 2 movies, both of them set on a Native American reservation. The writer is set on I don't want to say which tribe because I'm remembering wrong, but it's set on a reservation, which is part of the wrinkle of why, like, rodeo was one of the only options to him in the first place. And he was really good at it, and now he can't even do that. He's going to be a grocery store clerk for the rest of his life. God, I love this movie. It's really,
I
really
actually
good.
had heard about it. I think it may have been one of the Maltons that tweeted out about it. And
Might have
said
been.
It was really, really good. And I didn't realize it was on Netflix. You said it was on Netflix?
No, it's on Showtime or Stars.
Oh, okay.
That's where I saw it. But highly recommend.
You had me at Wrestler and Brokeback. Like, that's a really, really interesting combination. I've been getting a lot into, like, especially after Buster Scruggs, the gorgeousness of how you can shoot the American West now with technology where it is right now and the refinements and everything. You can really just, like you said, take your breath away.
Yep, absolutely. What do you got?
All right, I'm going to do a full-throated recommend for something I haven't finished yet.
Awesome.
Okay, Russian Doll.
Yep.
Is on Netflix, right? Natasha Lyonne. The main guy is I always forget
it's
his
Natasha Lyonne.
name. Lyonne. Charlie Barnett is the main guy in that. So it's on Netflix. It's an 8-part series. I watched the first episode about a week ago and was hooked. Right, but there was so much going on that I couldn't get back to it. And I was like, you know what? I really want to explore and see where it goes because the first episode sets up, and it's not a spoiler, it sets up a very Groundhog Day / Happy Death Day premise. Natasha Lyonne's character is at her 36th birthday, opulent, hipster, Manhattan birthday party with a lot of, open drug use and open sex and all that stuff going on. She gets hit by a car as she's leaving the party and dies and is transported right back to the bathroom in which she started the movie. Same thing we've seen with Happy Death Day, with Edge of Tomorrow, with Groundhog Day. And so I was like, all right, how are you going to do this? And what it's done is taken this in about 30 different directions. First of all, it made a straight-ass comedy out of it. And like laugh out loud. Like I can watch a comedy and enjoy it and think it's really funny, but there are very few comedies that make me literally by myself laugh out loud. And this one hits you in so many different ways that you will absolutely crack up. But it's also high-minded. It's also very well shot. The colors in here are evocative of like Eyes Wide Shut almost. And it's got some real dramatic moments to it. So I watched that first episode. The first episode alone is fantastic. Came back to it and I was like, maybe I should like try to binge that for today. And so I started last night and I got all the way up to the final episode. It was so good. I had time to cram that final episode in and still be here on time. But I wanted to savor that final episode, so I haven't seen how this ultimately ends. The penultimate episode is unbelievable. What really turned me on to this show, of course, everybody's talking about it. Everybody's lauding it. Andy Weir, writer of The Martian and Artemis, who we've had on the show here, tweeted out, very rarely tweets that I see, and he says something like, I'm not paid to endorse anything. I would never do that, especially on Twitter. Just want to let you guys know that Russian Doll is maybe like the most perfect thing ever. And I was like, wow. Because I knew it was high-minded sci-fi and stuff like that and has to do with different realities and things like that. So I was like, for this cat who has that brain capacity to say, like, this makes sense, it's got to be like at a different level than something even like Groundhog Day, which is more fun than logical, right? And this, I cannot recommend this enough.
One thing that this does, and I've only seen, I think, the first 3 episodes. One thing that this does do that's different from the other 3 that you mentioned is that it's not every day. It's she can get past the day.
Yeah, that's the surprising part of it.
Yeah, and is that a terrible spoiler?
No. I mean, I think it happens like in the first or second episode.
Yeah.
Honestly, as a guy who hasn't watched it, I wish somebody would have told me 3 weeks ago that there was some kind of time alternate reality, jumping back, reliving element to this, because all I've seen was Russian Doll's great, Russian Doll's great,
Yeah.
Russian Doll's great,
Yeah.
Russian Doll's great, and I have not been interested until now.
I know, right? That's why it's important. Yes, spoilers are. It's very difficult to spoil this unless you really get into some stuff later on. But yeah, me too. Actually, I think I knew that it was a Groundhog Day style thing, but I didn't realize what depths it was going to be in because nobody had explained that. It was just like, hey, this is really good. But yeah, it does take it into a different. It's much more under her control, right? Where she can manipulate what happens. There's a sequence in I believe the second episode where she dies in a similar way multiple times. It's just a montage of she falls down some steps.
Yeah.
And eventually it's ridiculous. I don't even know how she does this every time, but there's something about those steps that she gets knocked down and breaks her neck every time. So she just decides, I'm not going to take those steps ever again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So she starts using the fire escape.
But yeah, that was the fun thing for me is just that I think there's a point in one of those episodes where she gets like 3 days past.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then when she dies, goes back to this bathroom
Yeah,
and you're
yeah.
like, oh, holy shit. This is a little bit of a different wrinkle than what Groundhog Day and all the precedent has set for it and everything, where it's always been that same day over and over.
Yeah, and that's why it's so cool to me, because in Groundhog Day, he has to fix, like, I don't know, realistically 100 things, something like that. Like, he's got to catch the cat falling out of the tree. He's got to help the homeless dude. He's got to do this and that kind of thing, right? In Happy Death Day, she's got to figure out this whole crime, but she has to go through certain steps every day to do that, right? In Russian Doll, she'll go like 3 days or something like that and make all this progress interacting with, her peers and stuff like that. And then she's got to go back and do all that shit again, plus take the next step.
Yeah.
And it's edited so well to where you're not like, in that mire or anything like that, but it's so fucking great. This was co-created by Amy Poehler.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And not Natasha Lyonne, and the other woman is Leslie Headland. And it's just so good. I cannot wait. When I get home tonight, I'm going to watch that last episode, and I'm just going to like try to figure out, I may like sketch it out like all Crazy Beautiful Mind style, like on the windows, like how this all works. Cause I can't wait to see, they've explained a lot, but they haven't explained everything. I can't wait to see the ultimate explanation for it. Huge recommend.
All right.
And
Very good.
I think I'm on the right side of history, versus Polar. I think most people agree with me that it's very, very good.
No, you're right. You're really taking that Polar one hard, man.
I'm not actually. I was just so surprised because I was thinking, because something like John Wick is so generally loved, I was like, yeah, people will probably be on board
Wait,
with
are
this.
you talking about Polar or Amy Polar?
Oh, Polar. I barely even know her.
That's right.
Do you have any more?
I don't really. I was going to talk about. I was going to say I've been playing Red Dead Redemption 2 a bunch, and this thing that is annoying in video games happened to me. Maybe it's uniquely this game. There's a side quest in Red Dead Redemption where you're like hunting animals, and you send the dead animal carcasses to some woman who has an exhibition or something like that. And there's like 4 different levels to this. The first one's like 3 different animals, and you go around searching for these animals and everything. The last one it had all these ones. I had 4 of the 5 for a long ass time. Could not find a skunk. They need to be pristine to be sent in. So each one that you kill, you look at the information. Is it good? Is it poor? Is it pristine? And so I went through all sorts of wooded areas, all these things, looking for a fucking pristine skunk, and like couldn't find one at all. And finally one, I'm like next to a river and there's a skunk running. And I look over, info says pristine. Boom. I tagged that motherfucker and I got him. I'm like, yes, I can finally finish this goddamn side quest. Interesting note. There's some weird controls that you have to deal with sometimes. And one of them is if you have an animal as big as a skunk, you have to stow it on your horse or else he drops it if you try to get on the horse. So I went over all excited that I finally got this skunk. Went over to the horse, climbed on him. The skunk falls to the ground. I'm like, no big deal. But once you get on the horse moves around, and he
stepped
trampled on the skunk.
Oh, it's not
came back down and looked at it, and it was a poor skunk carcass.
Oh man.
I was like, I said, you motherfucker, about 500 times.
If you took this conversation and you sent it back in time and you played it for teenagers in the late 80s and early 90s about what video games are going to be like in the year 2019,
oh yeah,
they'd be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't want to hunt skunks.
Right.
But in reality, video games are better than ever because you can hunt skunks.
Yeah. And yeah, it took me another like 2 days of playing before I finally got another one.
That's frustrating.
But anyway, yeah, recommend that game because it's pretty fun. You can spend a large amount of time playing that freaking game.
Awesome.
And everything. But yeah, that was really frustrating. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to crack my knuckles here.
All right.
My record worn, mostly worn, is Leaving Neverland.
All right. You watch both of them?
Yeah. The Michael Jackson documentary that just aired on HBO 2 nights back to back, followed by an Oprah special. I don't think this is a very good movie.
Okay. It's a 4-hour like documentary, right?
Yeah. And I'm talking, at this current moment, I'm talking strictly about the filmmaking. It's overly long. And he does this thing where it's mostly interview footage with 2 accusers and their family members. But he will cut away and show you HD aerial drone footage of neighborhoods and streets and cities and streets and neighborhoods. There is so much aerial drone footage, it becomes beyond distracting. Beyond distracting. Like, I swear to God, a drone company funded this movie. That's how much aerial drone footage there is, where I don't understand why you can't just cut to another angle of your interview subject or cut to more historical footage like you do occasionally. But I'm telling you, if you ever get around to watching this, I'm not exaggerating. I cannot exaggerate how much aerial HD drone footage of places there are. They start talking about their visit to the Neverland Ranch. Boom, we're hovering over the Neverland Ranch about 300 yards. And all throughout the next half hour of the movie, while people are being interviewed and talking, we'll cut randomly back to aerial footage of the Neverland Ranch.
All right.
Creeping overhead. Like, you've seen people who do like drone time lapse of like city skylines and shit, right? Or nature porn. That's what this is. It's an artistic choice that utterly baffles me and really kept me from like investing. The film ultimately, as everybody has said before me, it's going to come down to whether or not you believe these 2 guys' story. It's super uncomfortable to watch. Super disturbing to watch and listen to. But I have found, from my perspective, there is enough undisputed fact about Michael Jackson that the movie didn't really tip me one way or the other. Does that make any sense?
Sure.
Like, Jackson himself freely admitted that for 30 days or longer, he slept in the same bed with this kid.
Oh, with this kid?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
Different kids, but this particular kid. It's a touchy topic because what I've seen online is mostly just vitriol in both directions. People who think he's evil and we need to end him, and people who just are simply never going to believe he did anything wrong. It's not a lot of wiggle room. That's why I chose to talk about it on the podcast, where I felt like I could at least articulate myself better, even if somebody ends up twisting my words. But I was talking with my wife about this. Like, you have a son who is 11. Would you let him sleep in a bed with another man for
Definitely
30
not.
straight nights? Or would you think that's a little weird?
Yes.
The only reason anyone can think this is okay is because of who Michael Jackson was. In that he was a god. I was trying to explain to my wife, who's a good deal younger than me, there's never been anybody as big as him, and there never will be again. However popular Madonna was in her heyday, however popular Taylor Swift is right now, it doesn't hold a candle to what Michael Jackson was at his peak. He was a deity.
Oh, yeah.
But anyone defending him, saying he definitely didn't do anything shady, is starting from a place of being okay with him sleeping in a bed with a little boy for 30 straight days.
Yep.
I can't get there.
Mm-mm.
I can't get there. I don't know what happened, but I can't look at that and say, definitely nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
And there's more. I really don't want to get into it because I know there's going to be at least 2 listeners who are going to come yell at me online and tell me I'm wrong and he didn't do anything wrong. And I'm not really here for that.
Mm.
But this is an issue as a culture that we are discussing and should discuss. So it ultimately, like you said earlier, like if we don't have video, some people are just simply never going to believe. Ever. The documentaries ultimately didn't do anything to sway me. Maybe because I kind of already suspected he had done some shady stuff.
It's interesting because it almost appeared like the filmmakers were expecting the same response as the R. Kelly documentary.
Yeah, well, he even leads them, dude. It's uncomfortable. There's a moment where Wade Robson is saying, I went back to Australia and I'd been in the U.S. for so many months, and I came back to Australia as Michael Jackson's friend. And you hear off camera the director go, and lover. And Wade goes, and lover, yes.
Yeah, that's not
and
cool.
It really, again, from a movie standpoint, I was frustrated with this thing.
Okay, so you watched the entire Surviving R. Kelly thing, right?
I did, yeah.
Did you ever see anything like that in that documentary? I know I'm asking you to remember like 6 hours of footage, but anything that stand out to you that was similar to that?
No, because I feel like I'm always conscious of when an off-camera filmmaker or interviewer is heard on during the interview.
Yeah.
Because
especially like
it's
that.
It's the 60 Minutes thing, right? Like I think John Oliver once had a whole montage of the reporter asking the leading question.
Yeah.
So like it was like, so you went into the store and or they'll say, I went into the store and you jacked all the stuff in the store.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
like, I jacked all the stuff in the store is what they say right after that, inevitably, and there's a whole montage of it. Yeah. Stop asking the leading question. Just let them answer how it is.
So that there are moments like that. So ultimately it does feel like a documentary that was a little bit agenda-y. And I don't know how you could not be with this being the topic. But I was frustrated by some of the filmmaking choices, some of the leading the witness, Your Honor, frustrated me. But then also, ultimately, all this movie has to offer that the facts we already knew didn't is their personal story. But they don't have any facts to back that up. Right?
Sure.
It's just 4 hours of 2 guys saying,
here's what happened.
Here's what he did. And here's what we
Here
started
I am
doing when I
leading-
got a little...
leading you.
Yeah, exactly. Here's what we did when we got a little older. And here's how we explained it to my mom. And again, you either believe them or you don't, but the movie itself doesn't have any evidence. And it's frustrating.
That is frustrating.
Even the R. Kelly documentary series, I felt like presented some evidence.
Yeah. The fact that the Michael Jackson stuff is so odd because everybody knew it. Everybody heard these things about he was able to draw his genitalia and stuff like that. Even Michael Jackson came out and said they were taking pictures of me and stuff like that. And in that crazy interview that he did with that embedded journalist for VH1, that he asked him point blank. He was like, "How are you comfortable sleeping with young kids that you barely know in your bed?" And he would fully cop to it. You know, he was admitting all this stuff.
He said, "I don't think that's wrong."
He didn't think it was wrong, and it's completely innocent and all that stuff. And it's like I'm not going to compare it to the Kevin Spacey thing, but it was an open secret, even to the public. Like everybody knew this. Everybody saw Michael Jackson admitting to this. So with R. Kelly, you had allegations, but then R. Kelly himself would come out and categorically deny it. His music friends would come out and deny and support him. The girls themselves would typically come out and say, "No, he's perfectly great to me," that kind of thing. And then it took this documentary to blow the lid off of what Jim DeRogatis and all those guys have been doing all this time and it finally hit. And so
now
I think
he's been arrested for
I
a
know.
whole brand new issue. Like a whole extra sex tape they didn't know about came
yes,
forward.
Yeah.
I think
And
R. Kelly's going to actually go down.
I cannot wait for that to happen. But I think they were definitely looking to have that same effect. I don't know if it was like, a malicious agenda or something like that. I know that the Michael Jackson estate put out like a concert video or something like that on Sunday night to kind of like take attention away from it. So it's like, I don't know if I can say, unfortunately, this won't move the needle. Probably,
I don't think it's going to end up moving. Now, the only thing that may is that Oprah, through her name, almost sort of endorsed the documentary's stories by interviewing these two guys afterwards. She's getting death threats for doing an interview. But I would say if a week ago you didn't think Michael Jackson ever did anything wrong with kids, this movie is not going to change your mind.
Interesting.
And if you did, I don't know that this movie's going to change your mind.
Wow.
Well, and let's not forget the reason why a lot of times we don't have evidence in these cases is because somebody like Michael Jackson, I don't think anybody really went and hard investigated all of that.
Until that lawsuit.
There was allegations, but I don't think they did the Bill Cosby thing where it was like, they actually uncovered someone who said this, and then they went and talked to that person, and this person's got a story to tell, and this person's got, this documentary sounds like it would be a lot better if they could have found others that could corroborate the story.
And there seems like there were others, right?
Or if they'd been able to talk to the kid that settled, but I'm sure part of that settlement was you can't ever talk about this again.
Do you think this would have moved the needle more if he were alive right now?
For sure.
Yes, because you can put it in front of him. And I think in large part the fact that he is not alive is why so many refuse to believe this, is that he's not able to defend himself.
Yeah.
And again, Robson was on the stand saying none of that ever happened with me. He never touched me, but he was 11 years old when he did that.
So one of the ones that were interviewed here did not settle. Neither of these
guys have settled.
Okay, I thought one of them had, but
Robson sued him, but I think that case was dismissed or he dropped.
Oh, okay.
And then the other one is James Safechuck. The guy that ended up settling with him he's talked about in this documentary, but he's not a focus.
Well, that's interesting. You're right, Chris. Like it didn't seem like at the time that all these were coming out, it didn't seem like there was a shortage of accusers or at least witnesses. I mean, I think Macaulay Culkin and Corey Feldman came out in support of him, literally saying, I slept in the same bed with him when I was a child and nothing happened. But how many other non-celebrity
Well, I was going to say, Macaulay
happened,
Culkin was famous before he met Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And his parents are notorious for having been deeply involved in all his career decisions.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that's the kind of person, Michael Jackson or not, a predator would target. There's too many chances to be caught with the famous... That kid was a household name when he met Michael Jackson.
Yep.
These kids in the documentary were not. Their families were not wealthy. They were not famous.
That's what makes it so weird.
I forced myself to go there. I knew it was going to be difficult to watch, and it is. There's a bunch of uncomfortable moments. One brief bit of levity I wanted to bring is that, have you guys seen the show Schitt's Creek?
I have not.
No.
It's fantastic, by the way. Eugene Levy and his son, Catherine O'Hara, Chris Elliott. My wife has been falling in love with it. I've seen about half the episodes, but it's got this really bouncy, like xylophone-y show opening that only lasts like 6 seconds, and it's like boom, gun, dum, gun, boom, ding, and then the show starts, and I'm watching Leaving Neverland, and my TV's in the corner. She can't hear it. She doesn't know what I'm doing. But her TV is right on the other side of the wall from my desk where I'm sitting. And so I'm watching Finding Neverland, and somebody says something really uncomfortable, and there's this awkward silence that the movie lets play, and I'm sitting here soaking it in, and then I hear bong dong 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 dong, and it was this weird dichotomy of moments. I had to go in and tell her what was happening just so I could laugh at it.
I had heard Schitt's Creek was just sort of flailing about for 3 seasons, and then it became popular.
Really?
Around the 4th season. I think it's on its 6th now, something like that.
I don't know. She has loved it from the beginning. I have liked every episode I've seen. It's about
I've heard good things.
A really rich family that loses it all, and the only thing they have left is this small shithole town that they were allowed to keep by the judge, and so they're living in this ratty motel. Chris Elliott's the mayor, and they're trying to adjust. It's like the reverse Beverly Hillbillies. They're trying to adjust to life being poor.
By the way, just for the listeners, you said Finding Neverland. You meant Leaving Neverland.
I meant Leaving Neverland. I've been doing this ever since this movie became a thing.
Who did Finding Neverland? It was
that.
I know it was Johnny Depp, right?
Mark Webb movie.
Mark Webb.
Yeah.
But like that
about J.M. Barry.
Yeah. That movie's going to get associated now with this crazy shit.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it was never like a good movie.
Thank you for correcting me, because I just don't feel like I can joke about this movie. But at one point, I thought about tweeting out, am I the only one that keeps accidentally calling it Finding Neverland instead of Leaving Neverland?
You've been saying Leaving Neverland for the most part,
yes,
right?
I think so.
It was
just the one time.
Yeah.
All right, you got another?
Should I give my Brecca Warren after that, or should we?
Go for it, man.
Okay. Now for something completely different.
Yes. And now for something completely different. A man with 3 buttocks.
This is very silly, especially relative to what we were just talking about. But, I talked about laughing out loud with Russian Doll and all that, where there would be moments where, like, it would hit you out of nowhere. There was a moment in Russian Doll where, like, there's the morning after, there's like the vestiges of an obvious orgy, and this dude is sleeping on his face, and he's got a strap on sticking out of his butt. And like, you can only imagine how this was operational during the thing.
Yep.
That was
I don't have to imagine, Barrett.
I have pictures. But no, one, if you ever have that experience where you're like, you just can't stop laughing, it's like the greatest thing in the world, right? And so I was watching Saturday Night Live for like the first time in ages, live on Saturday. John Mulaney hosted, and Bill Hader, one of my favorite people of all time, was also on there. The cold open was the Michael Cohen thing, where Ben Stiller plays Michael Cohen, and all the other ones are reprising their roles. Bill Hader played Jordan.
Jim Jordan, yeah.
And that one killed me. Now, normally these politics things, these current events things, especially if it's featuring Alec Baldwin as Trump, completely miss me. It's not funny. It's just relying on impressions and stuff like that. Two of the ones murdered me recently. It was when Matt Damon did Brett Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
That one was unbelievable. And then this one absolutely killed me. And then, so that was like off to a good start. I was like, wow, I'm actually interested in this. Then Mulaney came out to do a stand-up basically routine for his monologue. Did you see this?
Yeah, I saw it all the way up until I didn't get into, I think it was the musical guest or the weekend update. That's where I stopped.
Oh, well, you stopped at the right time, except for one exception.
Okay.
But then Mulaney did a stand-up bit, which ended up with a joke about Soon-Yi Previn and Woody Allen and the Lower East Side, and it was fucking hilarious. Like, everything about this episode was going well. Then they had this game show with Mulaney and Bill Hader about, like, do you know this person? They pulled up a picture of Chrissy Teigen. They were like, yeah, Chrissy Teigen. And then somebody else, and they got that right. And then they brought out, like, your coworker and his girlfriend of 4 years. What's her name? And he's like, I don't know. And what's funny, it's a funny premise, but like what's funny is the interaction between Bill Hader and John Mulaney, where he's like, "What is wrong with you?" And Bill Hader's the host. He's like, "A deep-seated hatred of humankind." Like that. Like, just happy to go lucky. Yeah. And it was just absolutely going and going and going. They had one of those pre-tape bits that was really funny. The toilet ejector.
Oh yeah.
And then it gets to like a sketch without Hader, and I think generally without Mulaney, and it just screeched to a halt. And then it wasn't Jason Isbell, but it was one of those guys, Jason Aldean or Aldean Frank or whatever his name is. Weekend Update was not good at all. Like, there was no Stefan, by the way. I mean, you had Hader and Mulaney there, and I was like, well, at least we'll get a vintage Stefan, but didn't do that. Everything just completely waned until it got to, I think it was the second to last sketch of the night. And Mulaney became well known for his, what was it called? Lobster Diner bit on SNL when he hosted about a year ago or something like that. And this was a similar setup where they go into a bodega and Pete Davidson says, "I want to use the bathroom." And his friend is like, "You can't use a bathroom in a bodega." And then it turns into this weird, absurd where the Sour Patch Kids are coming alive and talking, and like there's a stalk of lettuce or something like that. The toilet starts talking, and it's this crazy, like this feverish dream of like all these things coming alive and singing different musicals and stuff like that. And Music Man, he comes out and is like, the Bodega Man can. You know, it was fucking genius. So like. It's a weird recommend, but if you want to go back and watch the individual skits, go through the ones that I mentioned. It maybe just hit me at the right time, but I was fucking rolling. So anyway, that's a strong recommend. Did you like it?
Yeah. Now you've got. It was on Saturday, and it was really late.
Oh, you weren't watching it live?
It was recorded, and I got home and I needed to go to sleep, so I started up Saturday Night Live. So. A couple of the skits I was almost out for, so I didn't really give them a good thing. But the Mulaney stand-up at the beginning was really good. I really liked that.
Oh, my God.
And, yeah, that game show thing, especially Bill Hader, like the stuff you were just talking about, was hilarious.
Shit. Yeah, I was going to say, it was nice to see SNL actually have something that really just hit, you know? And I think it takes a professional like John Mulaney to come out to do stand-up, to help write, to make sure that the shit's flowing correctly. Did you see all that stuff on Twitter about how John Mulaney never did write for SNL?
Yeah, can I just tell you that this level of, like, meta humor...
You didn't like that?
Because, cause didn't it start with this one woman saying he didn't really write? This is just a long-running bit where he says he used to write for them.
Yeah,
and now he's playing along with that. I don't care.
No, I mean, I don't ultimately care. I thought it was kind of funny.
No, it is kind of funny. I'm saying this is a unique perspective. That kind of humor almost annoys me.
Really?
I don't know why.
I think when it's aggressive, like, oh, fuck you. Of course, no, he never wrote there. It was usually very genially posted, like somebody would come on and be like, what the fuck, you bitch? Like, of course he's been fucking writing there for like 10 years or whatever. And she would be like, you know, sources have confirmed this. But I think overall, the evidence points to that he was never a writer on SNL. And I think the passive voice, made it kind of
maybe. It's like, it felt a little too much like all the Ryan Reynolds, Hugh Jackman stuff can just go die in a fire as far as I'm concerned. Because I saw so many headlines when they made that video where they supposedly healed their feud and Reynolds did a good ad for Hugh Jackman's coffee, but then Hugh Jackman's ad for Ryan Reynolds' gin was, this fucking gin sucks, or he did some bad ad, and apparently Ryan Reynolds' feud is back on. Do you know how many goddamn reputable news sources had headlines that the feud is back on with Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds?
I did not know
that. The Wrap, Hollywood Reporter, all of these places, they just ran with this like, no one is winking in the headline. We're just selling gin for this fucker now.
Oh.
Or we're just promoting movies for these. They're playing along like the feud is real. Even though in the article they'll be like, the tongue-in-cheek feud continues to blah, 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 blah. And at this point, I'm just like, you guys are just feeding the bottom line of these two people.
All right, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah. I do want to bring up this comment that I got on a Facebook private message.
All right.
Private messages. A lot of fans come out and say stuff that they normally can't. I guess don't want to say on the public forum or whatever. I woke up on Saturday and I got this one. Holy fuck, your videos are so shit, man. Please stop. He spelt fuck with an X.
As you do.
F-U-X-K. He spelt stop atop, A-T-O-P.
Oh.
I responded back to him. I said, so you're saying you've seen more than one?
Nice.
Thanks for the support. Looking forward to hearing more from dedicated fans like you. So I just thought I wanted to bring up a fan, who obviously loves us so much that he's seen all of our videos, and it makes me feel special.
What's interesting is that he responded on the SinCast page.
Yeah, the SinCast page.
You want to know the truth? I probably have muted this person on Twitter, and once he couldn't get through to me on Twitter, he came over to you on Facebook because he just wanted to insult the CS guys.
Fuck your videos.
Yeah, fucksk. It's a Popeye thing.
Start using
Fucks your videos.
What the fuck's... Wow. That is a dedicated fan right there.
It really is. I hope he's on our Patreon because people like that are the people that you do this for.
That would be the best. If somebody hate commented on Patreon, that would literally mean they paid us to insult us.
That's right.
I actually want that to happen.
I know, right?
That'd be awesome.
That's going to do it for this week. Keep going to the aforementioned SinCast presented by CinemaSins on Facebook, CinemaSins Twitter, Reddit. We're on Discord. What else?
Seems like you got a good amount of comments on Facebook for the last episode.
Interestingly enough, though, the comments on the Greg Sestero one were a lot of like, "Whoa, I can't believe this," or "Oh, you got that guy," or and then people asking me about movies going on 30. By the way, I don't know if this will do anything. I've answered the question about 8 or I don't mean to sound upset at people who keep asking where this podcast went. But I've answered the question about 8 or 9 times on Facebook. We had another podcast that claimed that we were ripping them off, and then got 3 other podcasts without any irony saying that we ripped them off. And we decided to just go in another direction, and it's over. And I hate that it's over, but there you go.
Yep.
But there were 2 people asking me how movies going on 30 on the Greg Sestero thing.
It's over. You're too old. Nobody listens to techno.
Yeah. And then comments about other things. So it's weird. There wasn't very much about the interview in those comments, but there were a lot of comments. Yes. Yeah. But yes, I encourage people to come out there and talk about this very episode.
Yeah.
Anyway, that'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Sherrill. See you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit CinemaSins.com.
I have a question for you, Jeremy.
Yeah.
And this came to me honestly, and not just like an outtake type of question. I've never understood. I caught a little bit of the sponge episode of Seinfeld the other day.
Okay.
All right. And so because Elaine has cleaned out all the sponges, Susan can't get the sponge for the makeup sex with George, right? And so she's like, well, just get a condom. And he's like, I can't use condoms. And she says, why not? He says, it's like playing Beat the Clock.
He's like opening a bag of chips.
Okay. I never understood why he says this. Is it because the boner's going down, or is it because he's about to ejaculate?
Oh.
What is beating the clock meaning? Like, does his boner go down that quick?
That's what I always took from it.
Or does he wait until the very fucking last second to throw that on there? Like, he's humping away, and then all of a sudden pull out, throw it on, and then go back in.
I think it's the wilting boner.
It's the
wilting boner.
It's a great
That's a good band name. What the fuck are we doing?
I know we're not. This isn't like going to be part of a podcast, right?
I honestly didn't know if that was an ejaculatory response with the condom. You know what it's like? It's like why Frank Pantangeli's brother was brought in Godfather 2. It's whether they're threatening to kill him or whether he's intimidating Frankie Pants or whatever it is. Yeah. It's those kinds of questions because you can see it in a completely different light. If you look at it, it's just concerning
I always
boners.
interpret it as it's such a struggle to get it on and get it out of the package. My wiener's going to go down. Do you know what's 100% effective? Masturbation.
That's correct. Oh, I don't know.
Guaranteed never get pregnant if I
don't know.
jerk
Sometimes
off.
if there's a girl in the room, though.
That's true. Sometimes there was a joke in the have you seen the Bruno Mars Cardi B the Please Me video?
I haven't seen that yet.
Man, it's They had to hose that set down afterwards.
I'm
Like
sure.
it was just like grinding and thrusting
They
and
definitely
things
fucked.
and stuff like that. Well, I made a joke, and one of them was like, "They're literally gonna fuck right now," because she's like laying back, and Bruno's like got the legs open. He's
I remember reading that joke.
but
and
like,
narrating
but like one of the jokes is like this. It's so sexy in here that like these girls not only got pregnant, but they fully gestated the baby, delivered, and now they're pregnant again.
Yeah.
Hey, I see you're in the same restaurant. Want to fuck about it?
Hey, let me ask you this. Is every song by the 1975 on their new album, have I already asked you this, a title and then a subtitle in parentheses?
It may be. Yeah, that's kind of their thing.
The two sing for all albums or just this one?
Verbosity is their thing. Like they don't do short. It's like how
because there's like it's not love it if we made it or whatever, and then
it's not
like,
living if it's not with you.
And then the other one is
there's another one like that. Yeah.
The one they're playing on Alt Nation.
Well, the title of their album is like a Fiona Apple style like sonnet, basically.
I don't have time for that kind of thing. Just play your song.
I like their songs.
I like their music.
I do too.
I look down at the thing and I can't tell one song from the next, and there's parenthesis, and it always runs off the edge of the screen.
Well, remember Pearl Jam used to get knocked because of their one word titles. It was like Once, like Even Flow, but then like Alive, Porch, like all that Black, all that stuff.
Jeremy, Daughter.
And then, and then on Verses, I think they had Old Lady Sitting on a Porch with whatever it is, fried chicken or what.
Elderly woman behind a counter in a small town, but nice try. That's probably my favorite Pearl Jam song.
I love that song.
Did you say old woman, something fried chicken?
Yes.
Is that what you said?
It is kind of like that, though, right? But yeah, she's just behind the counter. There's nothing about fried chicken there.
I bought that single, by the way, on CD, the Elderly Woman song, because the B-side is Yellow Ledbetter.
Interesting, because I have a different CD single. I have a Yellow Ledbetter CD single.
I think it got popular after it was the B-side to the
Yes.
Elderly Woman CD.
Yes, Yellow Ledbetter is maybe one of the most like, and I mean this like orgasmically beautiful songs that I've ever heard.
The guitar work is outstanding, and I don't even care that he's literally mumbling.
Yeah, he's Ariana Grande.
Like, he's probably on drugs or something. Stoned, drunk, something. Oh, weather. Did he say weather? I think he said weather. How's the weather? I don't care. Song's amazing.
His song's fucking great.
And there's that part where this is the way I've interpreted this lyric. I don't care if it's a box or a bag.
I don't even want to look it up. I think that's hilarious.
That's awesome.
Better Man is on Vitology?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
And then Yield is the one that's where I started to fall off from them.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, it's a good album, I think, but it's
I love on Vitology the Spin the Black Circle.
Yeah.
oh my God.
Spin the black circle. Spin the black circle.
It's about as energetic as that band ever gets.
Oh, yeah.
Because so much of their music is just taking its time, even when they're rocking.
You know, Jackson Maine and A Star Is Born is just fucking Eddie Vedder, right? With like a mumbly, grumbly.
Sounds about
voice.
Seems
Sounds
good
about right.
to me.
Did he
Oh, see you later.
God, that scene with him and Sam Elliott where they're like bumping heads and they're like, "You stole my fucking voice. You won't fucking do any fucking thing with fuck you. Fuck."
Do I need to have seen the movie to understand any of that?
He probably. Why is it the
You would
censored?
definitely need the subtitles because. Well, I remember watching this movie in theaters, and I was like, "What the fuck did he just say?" I didn't even know it was about the pecan farm until I watched it later.
Pecan farm. Because it's a cut because they're in the desert and you don't even realize that it's sold. It's just like he punches them in this.
Yeah. You're fucking drunk. Couldn't even get up straight up by yourself.
And this whole like stealing his voice thing is just like randomly. I should put that in the Sins video. Like it's just touched on. Like it's basically implying that Sam Elliott had a better voice and a better career, but he wasn't ambitious.
Or
right?
he's just like what Andrew Dice Clay was talking about earlier in the movie, where he had the talent, but he never became a big thing.
And Jackson is the Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that it ties in pretty nicely with that ADC quote.
Fucking voice.
Give me the keys, motherfucker, cocksucker, what the fuck?
Yeah.
As Shania Twain said, up, up, it can only go up from here.
What song is that?
Up, up, it can only go up from here. Up, up. That's how it goes.
I don't know if I've heard that song.
Enjoy show notes later as you find Jeremy knows way too much Shania Twain. I think I'm messing up the lyrics, but I got the melody.
Do you know, like, were you a fan?
No, well, yes. When her she had one big album.
Yeah.
And it had Still the One and Man, I Feel Like a Woman and From This Moment. Like, she had like 6 radio hits off this one album. And I liked most of them. I didn't buy her album or anything, but I liked enough of them. And I remember that being a song.
She's a big old crossover.
She's coming back now. She's having a resurgence.
She's still pretty, too. She's very pretty.
Yeah.
I never thought
she
was
was
ugly.
married to Mutt Lang.
She was.
Yeah. Mutt.
Mutt.
I think if you're as beautiful as Shania Twain, that should just be like a first rule, not to date anybody named Mutt.
Yeah.
To the mighty Mutt.
To the mighty Mutt.
Hello.
Is it me, horny for? My wife was not impressed with the hornier than a 3-dicked rhino joke. And I was like, well, you get it. It's horny because he's got a horn. But then he's got 3 dicks. Imagine how much he wants to have sex. Wait, now I can hear. Whatever you did, fix it. Don't do anything else. Okay. No one move. No, I'm just kidding.
No one breathe.
Don't move. Oh, you move.